Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this MacBook Pro 15-inch model A1707 Late 2016. So first what you want to do, well, you'll need 3 different screwdrivers for the most part. If you're doing the screen, then you'll need a 4th screwdriver. But anyways, you'll need a pentalobe, I believe it's a 1.2 to remove the bottom screws. And then you'll need a T5 and a T4 for most of the other screws. I probably won't need the T4 for this. And if you're removing the screen, you'll also need a T8 to remove like the antennas back here. I have other videos showing screen removal, so if you need that, this one I'm mainly going to focus on removing the battery. Anyways, so first what you want to do is remove the 6 screws here. And the 2 back ones are longer, so keep that in mind. All right, and then after you remove all those screws, what you want to do is lift up this case. If you can lift it from here, then do that. You can use a pry tool and then get your fingernail or pry tool underneath towards the front of the cover. Another way, if you don't have long nails or pry tools, then you can use a suction cup or even tape that you put 2 pieces of tape that meet towards the middle that go up like that, so you can use it as a pull tab. That will work as well. Alright, so here's the suction cup. It makes it a little bit easier. Just stick that on, pull it up, and then you can do that. Sometimes if you don't have any of that, you can even use your screwdriver and kind of just pry it up using one of the screw holes, but this is a little bit more difficult. Alright, so once you get your fingernails or pry tool under there, slide it down towards the side and then pop up the clip like that. Go all the way around. There are clips in the middle, but they'll release themselves when you pull up the side tabs. So there you go. Once you get those 2 side clips up, you'll see like the covers like this. Don't try and pull it up because further than the clips, because you can damage this. So this is held in with some like sliding mechanism. So to remove it, I use my hand, grab it like this, and I'll just squeeze this so I have a good grip, and I'll push with my thumb on the bottom half while I kind of use my hand on top to kind of help. Alright, and you just do that. It'll take some strength and you just pull it, okay? Just like this. If you can't do it all from just pulling, you can also try and pull from the top back here near the hinge. That sometimes helps. So you can pull like this as well. But when you do that, you end up hitting this with your finger, so sometimes it's harder to pull it all the way. Alright, so that's how you remove the cover. I actually opened this and cleaned the dust out so it's not too gross. It was like really bad before. Alright, so now we're going to remove the battery. As you can see, this battery's inflated. It was giving a replace battery warning and the battery wasn't lasting very long. Okay, so if you wanted to remove everything else, you'll need the T4 for like all these little small screws holding these covers and stuff in place. And then there's a few screws on the board that need the T4 as well. I think these 2. Everything else, other than like the covers, we'll use the T5. Like all these other screws will be T5, and then there's some T5 on the back here. But anyways, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be replacing the battery. So to replace the battery, or if you're working on anything in this computer, it's always a good idea to disconnect the battery first. Okay, so just peel up this plastic sheet here. I don't know what that's for. I guess just to protect the circuits. Alright, once you do that, there's this little cable that goes over the top. You'll need to peel this up. So get your fingernail or pry tool underneath, lift up that plastic bit, or you can use like tweezers, I guess, and then peel that piece out. And then once you do that, you can flip the little latch there and then pull this connector back. So get underneath this. There's a little adhesive holding it down. So get underneath there, and then you can pull this connector back. Don't try and pull towards here because there's this springy area that you can damage the cable. So try and get towards the part that's straight behind the connector. And then you can kind of just grab it and wiggle it. Usually you're supposed to use these tabs that are on top, but the tape will just peel back. So I try and go underneath and then just wiggle it and pull it back like that. Okay, just like that. And then you can move that out of the way. So we need to remove this one T5 screw first. Alright, let's remove that. Once you remove that T5 screw, get underneath the part that it was holding down and just lift it up slightly, just enough so that the metal stays bent upwards. You don't want it to stay connected to the part under here, because then it'll keep power to the computer. Right, once you disconnect that, hold the power button just to drain any power. So you'll usually want to hold this for about 15 seconds. All right, this battery was bad. It wasn't even holding a charge, so you probably don't need to hold it that long, but I'll do it anyways. Okay. Once you do that, you'll want to actually, oh, I do need the T4 screwdriver. So you'll want to disconnect this because we'll want to remove the trackpad. If you leave it in, you can leave it in, but it's risky. So just to be safe, we'll remove the trackpad. So use the T4 screwdriver to remove the 2 screws holding in this bracket here. All right. Remove those 2. Put that metal bracket aside. Once you do that, you can pop this connector up, use your fingernails or pry tool, but be careful. Okay, so pop that up, and then you can peel this back. Try not to bend it like backwards because you can damage this cable, so try and keep the cable as flat, straightforward as you can. Okay, just like this. All right, and then to remove the trackpad, you'll want to remove the T5 screws holding it in place. So there's 2, and then another one here, another pair of 2, same thing on the other side, and then there's 2 more on this side. Okay, so let's remove all these screws holding the trackpad in place. And when you remove the trackpad, you don't want to flip it upside down because there are little washers that are between the trackpad and then the case. I'm not sure what that's for. Maybe it's to keep it from getting scratched underneath or something. I don't know. Maybe keep some space between the trackpad and the case. Alright, so try and keep all the screws in order because you don't want to get them all mixed up. They're going to be different sizes, different lengths, and if you put the wrong ones in the wrong places, you can actually cause some damage. Okay, get that. Take all these screws. Hopefully you can see all the screws I'm removing. Okay, I like to keep all the screws in order. So let me show you what I mean. I put the screws like that, so there's a pattern, so I know where. All right. So that's how you make sure that you don't get all the screws mixed up. Okay, so now that we got all those screws out, if you lift the case up, wait, oh, is there one more screw? I guess you have to remove this middle one as well. Okay, so make sure to remove that screw as well. So remove all the ones on the side, the 3 towards the bottom, and then the other ones on the other side. Okay, so now that we got all those screws out, you can lift up, open the case, and then just guide the wire through the channel. Okay, again, make sure you don't flip the trackpad upside down because you'll lose all those little washer things. They're very thin and difficult to pick up. Okay, so once you get it open slightly, you can pull the trackpad and then kind of tilt it sideways so you can guide the wire out. All right, just like this. All right, this thing, there's still some dust in here, so I'm gonna have to clean that. Again, don't flip this thing upside down. I'll show you what I mean with the washers. So as you can see here, there's, hopefully you can see that, but there's a little washer on there for these 2, and then there's another washer for these 2, another washer for these 2, another washer for these 2. It looks like somebody might have worked on this before or maybe Apple didn't put it, but it's missing one washer on this side for some reason. So that's kind of weird. All right. I don't know if it fell out somewhere because I didn't do anything that could have made it flop out. Oh. Alright. Maybe when I was... No, there's no washer here. Did it stick to this? Nope. Yeah, I don't know where that last washer is. Anyways, I'm going to clean the dust out of the trackpad area because it's pretty dusty. Alright, so let me set that aside. We will dust this. clean it better afterwards after I replace the battery. And it's super dusty. Okay, so that's a bit better. Right, so close the screen back. Alright, and then now the tough part is getting this battery out. Okay, what is this metal piece? Oh, that's probably from that board. Okay, so now we have to pry the battery out of here. So you need a small, thin pry tool. Huh, what happened to my more flexible one? I think I brought it inside. I'll try it with this one. So we have a thin, small pry tool like this. You just get underneath the battery, and then you have to scrape and pry this thing out. Okay. Do I have my other wider one? Here we go. We'll try with this, since this one's, you can also use a bigger one like this, but I have like special ones that are super thin, so I don't know where you would buy these. I tried buying another really thin one and I couldn't find the exact one, but this is like for frosting. It's a Flint stainless steel frosting spatula or something. Anyways, just get underneath the battery and pry it up. Okay, or not pry it up, but slide the tool underneath the battery to get to cut all the adhesive. Oh, I forgot. This model is a little bit painful because they actually slide the part of the battery underneath the board, so we will have to pull up the board somewhat. So you'll see when I get to it. You can take the whole board out, but that's kind of a lot of work just to do this repair, so I'm going to try and avoid that. Okay, so we pry out the battery. Go. Okay, so we got that section of the battery out. Now we'll get this section of the battery. Same thing, just go underneath and pry this up. If your tool gets all dirty like this, to clean it off, you just use rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol on a paper towel, and you can just rub out the adhesive. Okay. So again, this is stuck. Okay. You can see how much of a pain it is to remove these batteries. Alright, so we got that. We're going to remove this section of the battery as well. This is T5, two T5 screws, okay? Let's remove those as well. These are holding down the circuit board for the battery. Okay, let's see. I think I am going to have to lift the board out. So let's start taking some of these screws out. So we'll take out the screws on the bottom half of the board. Hopefully I won't have to take out the rest of them. So there's that one. This is a T4. So these two are T4. Okay, so we'll remove that. Okay, remove this one. Hopefully these other connectors can stay. I'm going to try and lift the board up slightly and see if I can. Okay, back to the T5. Let's see here. Can I lift the board with just those? It's probably not going to be enough. Okay, I'm going to remove all the board screws. So there's another T5 up here. Okay, another T5 up here. The cables are probably going to be holding it down, so I'm probably going to have to lift those out as well. And this actually is more work than a board replacement. The battery is a pain because of that adhesive that they use. Alright, and then there's one more screw here. let's see how high I can lift it right now. So, okay, let's take out the speaker cables. So the speaker connection, get underneath, use a pry tool. I like to use my fingernail. Once you scrape up all the way to the, as close as you can to the connector, you can pull that one corner like that, and then kind of just wiggle it to get the rest of it out. All right, so as you can see, now the board is kind of coming up a bit more. So same thing, let's do the other speaker. Maybe I should just take the whole board out. Okay, let's see. I'll just take the whole board out just so you can get a better idea. Okay. Definitely undercharging for this job. But anyways, take the 2 screws for this bracket out as well. All right. Go. Take that bracket out. All right, pop this connector up. All right, just like that. You can see the board is coming out, and then take out this connector as well. We will have to, oops, this is a T4. We will have to disconnect the microphone cable as well, and then we will have to, actually, let's see if I can do it without removing those. Or maybe I should just remove the whole thing so you guys can see, even though it's the same as all the other models. But let's pop this off. All right, let's see. Can I lift this enough? Yeah. That is lifted enough, but I might as well take the whole thing out. Okay, so we'll take out all the rest of these as well. Bunch more T4 screws. Okay, so if you are doing this, just remember all the screws are different sizes, different lengths. You don't want to get them all mixed up, because if you put the wrong ones in the wrong place, you're gonna have issues, and you don't want to damage these super expensive computers because you put the wrong screw in the wrong spot. Okay, so just make sure if you take these out that you remember where you got them from. Take that plate out. All right, we're going to also remove the LCD connector here. So let's disconnect the headphone jack. We also disconnected the USB-C ports there. Then you also have to remove this connector. That's for the Touch ID. All right, let's remove these ones in the center. That, put this here. Move the other 2 screws. Holding this bracket is holding the LCD cable onto the frame. So I guess so it doesn't move around too much. All right. So hopefully you're remembering where all these screws came from. Let me see. Maybe I'll show the layout that I have so that way it might help some people a tiny bit. Anyways, then remove this one screw holding this bracket. All right, this bracket has a little hook on it, so you have to lift it up and then slide it out. All right, then you can pop that connector off. This is for the touch bar. All right, then you got the 2 screws holding the charge port to this one. Right, so we'll remove the USB-C charge ports from here as well. Right. So I don't know how much my pattern of screws will make sense to you because they're somewhat all over the place, but they are arranged in a way that I can figure out where they came from. Anyways, lift up that, and we'll undo the headphone, or not the headphone, the microphone connector here. Lift that little latch and then wiggle this connector out. Usually this gets stuck, so I end up having to use like a needle to kind of go underneath, so I'll show you that. You can try and pull it out, but I find this works better. So I guide a needle underneath, and then I just wiggle the needle, and it comes out just like that. Okay. Alright, so let's see, we got that. Let's disconnect the LCD connector, or the screen connector, just like that. Alright, you got the wireless antennas here that you'll have to pop up as well, so undo those. Just like that. Pull up from the tail, don't try and pry up from the front of the connectors, okay? Alright, and now we should be able to lift the board out. So let's get underneath part of the board. Oh, we do have to also remove these two. So there's one other screwdriver bit that you'll need, and that's a T8. Alright, so I'll remove these two. I don't think I need to remove the hinge cover screws, so hopefully not. Okay, come out. Got that. Go. So I'll remove the two T8 screws. Okay. And then here's the pattern of screws that I put everywhere. There you go. Okay. I don't know if that'll be helpful to anyone, but alright, so now we gotta remove the board. So to lift the board, sometimes it helps to use the heat sink as like a place because you can kind of grab underneath. You will also have to undo the adhesive for these rubber things, so just peel that up. Okay. Alright, so you can grab from anywhere, but I find usually this works well. Okay, be careful though, because these are somewhat fragile. So while you're lifting this up, you have to make sure to move these cables out of the way. So be gentle, move those out of the way. Oh, I guess I do have to remove the hinge covers. So the hinge covers also use T4 screws, so we'll remove those as well. Two screws holding each hinge cover in place. Alright, so pull that out. And they also tuck in underneath, so make sure when you put them back that you tuck them back underneath the case. You don't want them on top, sitting on top of the case, and then when you put the cover back on, it's gonna like not close properly. Okay, so as you can see, you have to lift it at an angle and then you can pull it out because it's tucked underneath there. Alright, so now we should be able to lift the board out, and just make sure to hold all the cables out of the way. Alright, so usually I'll start with one side. So on the left side there's all these connectors in the way, so just lift them and move them. Try and grab the board if you can, and then just keep making sure all these cables aren't in the way. Right, it's getting caught. So it'll usually get caught on one of these, and it's kind of difficult to tell, so just make sure to keep checking and pulling the connectors out. Sometimes it might look like it's not getting caught on it, but it actually is, so just be careful. There we go. So now we got the board out, and I guess it's good that I took it out because there's a lot of dust under this too, so I'm going to clean that as well. If you are doing this kind of work, make sure that you keep yourself grounded so that you don't short out your computer. And hopefully you're watching this video and not attempting it right away if you don't know what you're doing. It's always good to watch it one time first just so you can see what you're getting into. Alright. Okay. I should probably just use that. This so dusty, this thing. Okay, so we'll set the board aside. Be careful not to set it somewhere that it can get damaged from static or anything like that. Right, even under here it's super dusty. Man. Okay, so I'll just clean that out a bit. Alright, so these two cables are for the touch bar. Okay, so now that we got that, I have another fan also for the another video for how to remove the fans. So you just lift these up, and then you unlatch these just like the other connectors, and make sure you take out these T4 screws. Okay, so if you wanted to take out the fans, that's how you would do that. These things, you have little screws holding the charge ports in place, so if you want to replace those, you can replace those as well. Okay, but yeah, we're focusing on the battery, and this is why I had to take the whole board out, because this part here, You can actually do it without taking the whole board out, but it's a little tricky to slide the new one in, especially when there's adhesive underneath. All right. So now we have to pry this out, and this, let's see here. So you can see there's the holes underneath, so make sure to check the holes underneath the board, so when you pry it up, your tool isn't so small that it can go through and then you accidentally hit your screen. Okay, so I've had some people where they do this and they didn't take the trackpad out, or I made another video where I did it without taking out the trackpad to show people, and I've had a few people that knocked the trackpad cable out, so they had to remove the trackpad and then realign the cable. Luckily they didn't damage it, so now I just recommend taking the trackpad out for safety. Okay, so pry this up. Okay. Apple has to make things so difficult all the time. All right, so underneath this one too. Okay. All right, there we go. So we've got most of the battery pack out. I've got to get this side now. Flip it over. Do the same thing for this side. I'm getting the old adhesive stuck on this. Let me peel some of the old adhesive off my tool. Okay. Continue. Yeah, if you don't have a tool like this, it's going to be even more difficult. I don't know what other people use to do this. I've heard someone say that they read that you can use dental floss, but I don't know. I don't know how you guide the dental floss underneath in between. All right, so there we go. So now we got the battery released. Should be able to lift it out. All right, just like this, and this battery's like this, so kind of have to be a little careful. Some people, they puncture this and then they end up like starting a fire. So if you want to be safe, you can just run your computer until there's no charge left in it, and then that way you won't have as much of a risk. All right, so usually after that, I like to peel this stuff off. I don't like to leave all this old stuff because the new battery won't stick very well if you leave it. But if you plan to change your battery every time it goes bad, then you can actually leave this stuff in, and it'll make it so that the next time when you change the battery, it won't stick so well and it'll be a lot easier. But I don't like leaving that because some people will shake the computer around and then it can damage the battery, so, or it will be rattling in there. All right, so let's peel all this stuff up. But anyways, you get the idea. I don't think you want to watch this whole boring video of me peeling up all this tape. And when you're done, you basically put the battery back and then do everything in reverse. So just rewatch my video and do that in reverse in order to reassemble it. Okay, so hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe because that'll help me, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.